Allow me to weave you a tapestry of narrative. Adam lives in a hut across from a prestigious university. Separating them is a lateral distance d, and the distance w across the famous fixed-width river. There's also the distance a between Adam's cozy hut and the river, and the prestigious university's distance b from the river. Now, Adam is a modest man, owning only 4 things: a dog, a pole, and a measuring tape. His lifelong dream has been to measure the height of his dog, but he knows these things take advanced degrees. And so naturally, he dreams of earning a PhD in mathematics at the university across the river. But the first step in his bold journey is to build a bridge permitting him to cross. And building the bridge is a high-stakes operation, because the 4th thing Adam owns is a lifetime supply of Domino's pizza and their new slice sauce. Naturally, this impacts Adam's conditioning and means that even after building the bridge, a walk to school will be no small feat. So it's crucial that he builds a bridge such that his walk to school is as short as possible. If Adam builds the bridge close to his home, then he'll have a short trip to the bridge, cross the river, but then have a long walk to get to the university. We can see the total distance he has to travel gets smaller as we place the bridge further from his home. But at some point, the total distance starts going back up if we place the bridge too close to the university. Somewhere in here is the perfect place for Adam to build the bridge and create the optimal path to school. And the solution isn't to just put it in the middle. It might seem reasonable, but it certainly isn't optimal. Thankfully, Adam took calculus in high school, so he knows this problem is easy to solve with derivatives. He doesn't know the best place to put the bridge yet, but he decides wherever he puts it, he'll call the horizontal distance between his hut and the bridge x. And I'm gonna do a quick bridge substitution here so that our diagram remains readable. If that's where the bridge is, then the path Adam has to take each day to school is here in pink, taking us to the bridge, across the river, and to the school. He then knows, based on the placement of his bridge, exactly how far he'll have to travel each day. The first leg of the trip, from the hut to the bridge, by the Pythagorean theorem, or the distance formula, it's just the square root of a squared plus x squared. That's the length of this segment. And we'll let big T represent the total distance of his trip. Then, when he crosses the bridge, well, it's across the fixed width river, which has a fixed width of w. So we'll add a w to the total distance. Finally, the last leg of the trip takes him from the bridge to the school. We know this total lateral distance from hut to school is d, so since he's already traveled x of it before crossing, he has d minus x left. That means the length of this last part of the trip is the square root of b squared plus d minus x squared. And there we have the total distance Adam will need to travel as a function of x, the horizontal distance between his hut and the bridge. If we graph this function, picking some ordinary values of a, b, d, and w for the sake of demonstration, it looks like this. And you can see how its shape reflects the situation. If the bridge is placed too far to the left, the trip will be longer than necessary. Too far to the right, same problem. We're trying to find this point at the bottom, where the trip's distance is minimal. If, like Adam, you know anything about calculus, you know the derivative of this function gives us the slope of the tangent lines at whatever point we like. At the minimum, the tangent line is horizontal and so has a slope of 0. That means it's at this point where the derivative of the distance function is equal to 0. So to solve the problem, we just take the derivative of t, which only requires the power rule, this specific case of the chain rule, and this fact. Applying those rules, knowing that a square root is the same as a power of 1/2, we get this derivative. We then set this derivative equal to 0 and solve for x. And that's the solution, telling us exactly where to build the bridge to minimize the distance of the path. X, the horizontal distance between the hut and the bridge, should be the ratio of the product AD to the sum A plus b. But here's the rub. Calculus is pretty modern. Bridges are not. But ancient people could have found themselves facing this exact same problem. For example, the Archedico Bridge in Greece dates back to 1300 BC, when Isaac Newton was merely a twinkle in his very forward-thinking great-grandpappy's eyes. So, if an ancient fella encounters a similar issue in the course of his life, how can he proceed without the powerful calculus which Adam wielded so mightily? Well, finding the best place to put the bridge involves line segments and triangles. So it's no surprise that the ancient ones would solve this problem using the theory of chromatic polynomials. Ha! Gotcha! Nah, they used geometry. And an important geometry fact that doesn't always get a ton of love is the triangle inequality. Long after the Archedico Bridge was built, another bridge was being erected in Greece between geometry and rigor by Euclid of Alexandria. And this is a guy who knew the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. In order to get from Timbuk 1 to Timbuk 2 as fast as possible, it makes no sense to stop at Timbuk 3, except in the case where Timbuk 3 is on the way. And that's basically the triangle inequality. Proposition 20 from Euclid's Elements. Any two sides of a triangle taken together are greater than the third side. Today, we would say that they are greater than or equal to the third side, where equality only occurs in the case of a trivial triangle, where all the sides coincide. And that ancient fact is the key to figuring out where to build this bridge without calculus. To describe how it can be done, it'll be useful for us to introduce some vector notation. Of course, vectors as we understand them didn't come about until the 1840s with William Hamilton's quaternions, but we're going to use them only for notational expedience. And if you've never seen it before, it's really quite snappy. Here's a triangle with two of its sides, u and v. All sides of the triangle have a length and a direction, so we can regard them as vectors, and vectors get to wear these cool hats. We also draw an arrowhead on the sides to indicate their direction. Vectors, like numbers, can be added, and to add them, all you have to do is connect them from tip to tail, just like with u and v here. So in fact, this third side is precisely the vector u plus v. Just as another example, if this is a vector u and this is a vector v, to add them we need to consider the length and direction of change that occurs when we put them tip to tail. And of course that ends up being the third side of a triangle. This here is u plus v. It represents the direction and distance traveled when we combine those two vectors. With that, let's go ahead and renotate our diagram in terms of vectors. Certainly the first thing we need to do is give the cute little vector hats to everything we've already labeled. This part here was previously labeled with its length d minus x, but now in fact we can accurately label it as the vector d minus the vector x. It's the vector that results when we take this vector d and subtract this vector x. We get this direction and this length. And now that we know how vector addition works, there's also some other stuff here we can label. This third side is the vector a plus x. That's the path from the hut to the bridge. Similarly, the path from the bridge to the university is d minus x plus b. When we look at the three components of our path to the school, there's one component we can't change. That is, of course, the distance across the bridge. For that reason, this distance doesn't really matter. No matter what x is, this is still going to be the same w across the bridge. So we may in fact disregard it entirely, imagining the fixed width of the river to be 0. And at this point, the solution should appear immediately. What what's the shortest distance between 2 points? Well, of course, it's a straight line. By the triangle inequality, we know that the length of this part of the path, a plus x, plus the length of this part, d minus x plus b, will be at least as big as the length of the straight line from the hut to the school. And since the summed length of these vectors is greater than or equal to the length of the straight line, we know the path length will be minimum when the sum of the vectors' lengths equals the length of the line. So, to minimize the distance of the trip, x must be chosen so that these two vectors are going in the same direction, as if they were one straight line between the points, just broken by the river. And in this case, visually, we can see that means the bridge needs to be right about there. Now, pulling in a fresh diagram, if these two vectors need to be going in the same direction, that means that this angle is congruent to this angle. But we also have another pair of congruent angles because we have a right angle here and here. That means these two triangles are similar, and so their sides are proportional. And therefore, the ratio of A to X is equal to the ratio of B to d minus x. Solving this again yields the expression for x we previously found using calculus. Then a natural question is, which solution is better? And I've got to say, it's the ancient one's solution. Using calculus for this feels a lot like this meme, bringing a paddle made for spanking ogres to a game of table tennis. You don't need to set up these distance functions, take a derivative, and do all this messy algebra. All you need to do is see the geometry at work, understand that the shortest path between 2 points is a straight line, and solve for x. And not only is the ancient one's solution more elegant, but it also provides more insight. Calculus is sufficiently powerful to just churn out a solution without shedding any light on its nature. But using geometry, we arrive at the solution specifically through the fact that the paths to and from the bridge have to have the same direction. Calculus just spits out the solution like a gumball machine with no fun coaster. Womp womp. So there's a calc and non-calc solution to a classic problem. And as for our friend Adam, he went on to complete his degree, measure his dog, and had a successful career as an author of PEMDAS problems. All's well that ends well. My night is not gonna end well. Riverside Drive held me up when the first man I loved died, when I could only say I love you through sobs and say I'll miss you. Last time I was in talking shells out of the shotguns, someone with a much bigger